Good evening and welcome. Today we are going to discuss different types of lasers. As we know, the basic principle and phenomena of laser, as we discussed in last lecture. Today we are going to discuss three type of three different types of lasers. First one is the ruby laser. Second one is the HENE laser, that is helium neon laser, and third one is the semiconductor diode laser. Okay, so let us start one by one. Actually, the first working laser was built in 1960 by Maiman using a ruby crystal, so that laser is called as ruby laser. Actually, that ruby belongs to the family of gems consisting Al2O3 with various types of impurities. For example, pink ruby consists 0.05 Cr atoms. If we see this schematic diagram of ruby laser, on that basis we can discuss its construction, its operation, its energy level diagram, advantages, disadvantages and applications of ruby laser, that we have to discuss one by one. First we will discuss its construction. The ruby laser consists a ruby rod which is made up of chromium doped ruby material. Chromium doped ruby material. At the opposite end of this rod, there are two silver polished mirrors. Two silver polished mirrors, whose one is fully polished and other is partially polished. If we see this in this diagram, one plate is fully polished and another is partially. A spring is attached to the rod with fully polished end for adjustment of wavelength of the laser light. Okay, the two plates are attached with a spring. Due to that we can adjust the wavelength of the laser light. Okay, around the ruby rod a flashlight is kept for pump input, for the pumping purpose, and this whole assembly is kept in a glass tube. Around the neck of the glass tube, the RF source and switching control is designed in order to switch on and off the flashlight for desired intervals. Okay, at the end or at the neck of the glass tube, the RF source and switching control is designed in order to switch on and off the flashlight for achieving a pumping, or we are using that flashlight for desired intervals to switch on and off. Okay, this is all about the construction of ruby laser. If we move forward, how it operates, that we have to understand. When we switch on the circuit, the RF operators, when we switch on the circuit, the RF operators As a result, the flash of light is obtained around the ruby rod. We can see easily in this diagram. This flash causes the electron within the ruby rod to move from lower energy band to the higher energy band. Due to the flash, electron within the ruby rod moves from lower energy band to the higher energy band. This flash causes the electrons within the ruby rod to move from lower energy band to the higher energy band. Okay. This population inversion takes place at a high energy band and electron starts back to travel towards a lower energy band. Initially that flash lamp excites that electron to reach a higher energy level, and again they want to stable. In that process they move towards a lower energy band. During this movement the electron emits the laser light. Okay, this emitted light travels towards two mirrors whose cross reflection take place of this light, and the stimulated laser light escapes from partially polished mirror. In shape of a laser beam. The spring attached with fully polished mirror is used to adjust the wavelength equal to lambda by 2 of laser light for optimum laser beam. We are adjusting the wavelength between these two plates is lambda by 2. The switching control of the RF source is used to switch on and off the flashlight so that excessive heat should not be generated due to very high frequency of the movement of that electron. That's why we are using that RF source switch to on and off. Okay. In this way this ruby laser can operate. Any doubt in this? So move forward. Now energy level diagram of a ruby laser, how it works actually. This is a 3-level energy diagram which shows that in ruby laser, okay, the absorption occurs in a rather broad range in the green part of the spectrum. This makes the electron from ground state E1 to the band of level E3, which is higher than E1. At E3, these excited levels are highly unstable. This excited level is highly unstable, and so the electron decay rapidly to the energy level E2. This transition occurs with energy difference E1 minus E2. This transition can occur with energy difference E1 minus E2 given up as a heat, or it is a radiation less transmission. So the level E2 is very important for stimulated emission process because it is a metastable state, and that state is E2 is the metastable state for the ruby laser. Electrons in this level have an average lifetime about 5 millisecond. About a 5 millisecond before they fall to the ground state. Okay. After this, the population inversion can be established between E2 and E1. E2 and E1. The population inversion is obtained by optical pumping of the ruby rod with a flash lamp. Due to that, electron can move from energy level E1 to the E3, and E3 energy level is highly unstable. That's why that electron radiation less transmission in the form of heat, and it reaches to a metastable state E2. A common type of flash lamp is a glass tube wrapped around the ruby rod and filled with xenon gas. When the flash lamp intensity becomes large enough to create population inversion, then the stimulated emission from the metastable level to the ground level occurs, which results in the laser output. Once the population inversion begins, the metastable level is depopulated very quickly. Due to that, the population of electron in the metastable state increases, and all that electron loses its energy h nu, which is equal to the E2 minus E1, and it becomes a stable electron. During that process, they emit a photons. That photons is nothing but the laser output. Thus, the laser output consists of an intense spike lasting from a few nanoseconds to a microsecond. After stimulated emission spike, population inversion built up again, and a second spike result. This process continues as long as flash lamp intensity is enough to create a population inversion. Okay. This is the energy level diagram for the ruby laser, how that electron can move from E1 to E3, E3 to E2, and E2 to E1. During that process, we are getting a laser beam as an output. Okay, this is all about the ruby laser, its construction, its operation, and its energy level diagram. So, there are some advantages of ruby laser. Beam diameter of the ruby laser is comparatively less than CO2 gas laser. If diameter is less, means what? It's highly intense. Output power of ruby laser is not as less as HENE laser gas laser. Output power of ruby laser is not as less as in HENE gas laser. Since the ruby is in solid form, therefore there is no chance of wasting material of active medium. Okay. Construction and function of ruby laser is a self-explanatory. These are the advantages of ruby laser. There are some disadvantages also there. In ruby laser, no significant stimulated emission occurs until at least half of the ground state. This is one of the most important disadvantages. Electrons have been excited to a metastable state. Efficiency of ruby laser is comparatively low, and optical cavity of ruby laser is short as compared to the other lasers, which may be considered a disadvantage. So, what are the applications of Ruby ledger? Due to low output power, they are class 1 ledger and so may use as a toys for children. It can be used in school, colleges, universities for science program. It can be used as a decoration piece and artist display. Okay, these are the it's all about the Ruby ledger, in which we discuss its construction, its operation, its energy level diagram, advantages, disadvantages, and application of Ruby ledger. Okay. Any doubt in this? If you have any doubt, you can ask me in comment section. In next lecture, we discuss about HENE ledger. Thank you.